I'm going to go ahead and get everyone checked in, just sort of based off the orientation of the screen. So I see that we have two gentlemen from RWA Architects. If you could unmute, give me each of your names, and I assume you're here on behalf of RWA and the Hyde Park Country Club.
Yes. My name is Mike Mauch with M-A-U-C-H with RWA Architects.
Andy Korn,
Okay.
C-O-R-N.
I'm sorry, could you say the name again?
Andy Korn, C-O-R-N.
All right, welcome. I see we have a Betty Beaumont. Ms. Beaumont, if you could unmute and tell me who you're representing here today.
I'm a homeowner.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
I have a Craig Abercrombie. Mr. Abercrombie, welcome.
Hi, Mr. Sturkey. Yeah, Craig Abercrombie, Abercrombie Associates. We're the civil engineer, land surveyor. I put the application together on behalf of Hyde Park Country Club and RWA Architects.
Okay, welcome, Craig.
Thank you.
David Irick, is that right? You could unmute for me. Mr. Irick, I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. I don't know if you could move closer to a microphone or closer to your computer.
Is this better?
That's much better, yes.
Okay. I'm a neighbor and live at the end of the driving lanes. One Greenhouse Lane,
Okay.
Cincinnati.
Okay, great, welcome. And is it Irick, is that right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right. I have a Nick Spadaccini.
President of Hyde Park Golf and Country Club.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Spadaccini.
Thank you.
And looks like we had someone join here, Keith Jones. Mr. Jones, are you with us?
Yep, hello.
Mr. Jones, just getting started here. I'm checking folks in. Would you like to provide testimony at the hearing here today?
No, wasn't planning on it. Just listening
Okay,
in.
just observing. Okay, great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read through our hearing script. This basically will just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get started. So this is the May 3rd, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20230048. That's 3704 Erie Avenue. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. Excuse me, this hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent first present the applicant's case. The public will then have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. In the event that any party testifies or offers, in the event that any party testifies or offers arguments in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut or to respond to those arguments offered in opposition. I will give Trey Sheldon from our zoning department an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to a staff report. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So for our purposes here today, I'll allow everyone from the applicant team, including RWA and Mr. Abercrombie and Mr. Spadaccini, to tell me about the project, why they think I should grant this relief, why it's appropriate for the neighborhood. And I will then go to all the members of the public that we have here, then to Trey, and then I'll go back to the applicant team to respond to anything that's been said. I'll have some questions along the way. They'll make some closing statements, then I'll close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony or documents. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at the hearing here today. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do here is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you know that that's you, or you know that you would like to say something, I'm going to sort of collectively swear everyone in now. If you're not sure, I can always swear you in later, but if you know you'd like to say something, if you could go ahead and take yourself off of mute. I need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Who will be taking the lead on the presentation for the applicant here?
I will.
Okay, floor is yours, Mr. Abercrombie.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Starkey. Yeah, Craig Abercrombie with Abercrombie and Associates, presenting on behalf of Hyde Park Country Club. And as we've already kind of stated, I'm here with Nick Spadassini and then the two architects, Andy Korn and Mike Malk with RWA Architects. Really pretty simple one in terms of the reasons, we're in front of you. One, the maximum height for a fence in the SF20 zone is 6 feet. So obviously an 80-foot tall safety net is larger than 6 feet. So that's the variance we're asking for. And then a conditional use is required for recreation facilities within that zone. So those are the two items that kind of put us in this hearing. And really, it's about safety from the golf balls in the driving range. It's been placed so that only one tree will have to be removed, and Nick can explain where that tree is. I believe it's dead anyway. So we've kind of taken care to put it in a location that both protects folks on the Wasson Trail and doesn't affect the existing vegetation, which we think is important. And that the fence will be 80 foot tall for 430 feet, which puts the end of that fence about 525 feet north of the maintenance building. Is it kind of
You said 80 feet tall and 430 feet wide?
Long.
Okay.
So 430 foot long, 80 feet tall, and then it's got a 45 foot long guy anchor wire on the end, each end for structural support, which puts the end of that the fence about 525 feet north of the existing maintenance building. Which I can share my screen if you need a little more clarity there.
Sure. Yeah, I think any additional context you can provide will be helpful for.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. So this is AutoCAD. This highlighted line right here is the thicker is the 430 foot length. And then there's a 45 foot guy on each side. And then here where my cursor is the end of the maintenance building. So that fence is about 525 feet. It ends about 525 feet north of that building.
Got it.
And it somewhat parallels the property line in the existing gravel road there.
Gotcha.
And
So,
obviously-
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Abercrombie.
Oh, yeah, we submitted pictures of the fence or the golf fence, which is going to match the existing fence that was previously installed.
Yeah, could you tell me some more about that? So there was a previous fence. Was it the same size and same location?
It's right here, and Andy or Nick could probably answer a little better of when that went in.
2018, 2017, 2018. And it's 50 feet high.
Yeah,
The
50
exact
feet
same
high.
fence. And then also in addition, where the blue line is, that's also additional fence. That's 80 feet. It's 130 feet. So we continue the old fence and add the second row, if you will, that Craig talked about.
So it'll transition in this area, Mr. Sturkey, to the 80-foot tall fence.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's really two runs of fence, a smaller and then the 430-foot length.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's
And that,
all I have. We had a neighborhood meeting approximately a little less than a month ago. Doug Smith at our office attended on our behalf and answered some good questions at that. I'm not sure if Mr. Irick or any of the other neighbors were there.
Sure. Well, let me ask a few questions just so I can make sure that I just fully understand the project, and we'll, if no one else would like to speak from the applicant side, we'll go over to the public. But just sort of out of sheer ignorance here, when I think of an 80-foot golf fence, I can't help but think of like Top Golf, which is visible from quite a distance. Is that if you guys are familiar at all? I'm sure Mr. Spadassini is, but I mean, is it going to be to that scale, something that large from?
No, it's half the size.
It's half the
Top
size
Golf
of what
is
that is?
160 feet. Top Golf is 160 feet. Some, I've been told some are now going up to 180 feet. I don't have verification, but originally they were at 160 feet. To stop everything, yeah, you would probably have to be that tall. But when we went to the Hyde Park Community Council and we realized you can't have a Top Golf fence in the middle of Hyde Park. And so we're kind of using the rule of averages as, if you look at statistics from the PGA, et cetera, average golfers, how high they hit it, et cetera, 80 feet captures a lot.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And has something changed about the conditions there? I mean, is it the Wasson Way Trail that has
Yeah.
precipitated the need
Yeah.
for additional coverage there?
Yes. Well, two things. Yes, the Wasson Trail, and golf balls can fly over to Saybrook, the home zone Saybrook. I don't know if any of the people present have had a golf ball in their backyard. I know there have been neighbors where a golf ball has flown over there too. So it's two safety factors: one, Saybrook, and two, Wasson Way. But Wasson Way probably made it much more urgent.
Okay.
I should say the bike walking trail, if it's called Wasson Way.
Yeah. Is that active now along that portion? Is the Wasson Way Trail
Is the
open?
trail active? Yes.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right.
Open last fall.
Sure. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Anything else from RWA or Mr.
Okay.
Spadassini?
Yeah, Mike Malk here. Just that, and you were asking to be brought up to date there. So the city of Cincinnati has asked Hyde Park Country Club to do this. I think that's for safety reasons, and that's why it's being done, for safety reasons.
Okay.
Mr. Sturkey, I don't know if it has to be in the record. It might have been a typo. Our address is 3740 Erie Avenue, not 3704. Just
Thank you.
if it has to be accurate.
Yeah.
The reason for that, David, is there are actually multiple parcels that the country club is comprised of. So it's comprised of multiple parcels. And so the particular parcel where the fence is going is actually 3704. I realize that the address for the clubhouse is 3740, but that's how I have to do it for zoning. When I'm going to make you consolidate all your parcels. The club's been
I
around
didn't
for a
know that.
long
That's
time.
right.
Anyhow, I just
Yeah.
thought I'd explain that. That's
Okay.
the reason for the address.
Okay.
Us engineers and land planners and surveyors and zoning folks, we use the auditor parcel and address. So sometimes that can be different than your mailing address.
Okay. Got
Hope
it.
that
Okay.
explains it.
Thanks, Trey.
So I think I have one more question. I mean, so just generally, I think actually knowing that Top Golf is so much higher helps me contextualize this. But I mean, what will be the visual impact for the neighboring property owners, if at all, with this fence?
Well, it'd be similar to what they're experiencing now with the 50-foot fence, except for it's 30-foot higher. So they are transparent. Obviously, the pole is not, but the nets you can see through. I don't know if we have a picture, Mike, or do we have a picture of that?
We submitted the pictures. I could probably pull it up unless Andy can pull it up faster than I can.
Is it
I'll
just-
look for it, but it was part of the package.
We'll both look
What
for it
pictures
here.
exactly are you referring to, Mr. Abercrombie? I mean, I have some pulled
Yeah,
up here.
it's the pictures we submitted. It's the existing pictures that Andy took of the fence right before we submitted of the current one.
Okay. I mean, is the current fence visible from Saybrook, from the properties on Saybrook?
Yes.
Get me muted.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, unless there's anything else from the applicant side, I will go ahead and give some of the neighboring property owners an opportunity to provide some input here. Anything else?
Would you like us to try to find these pictures while in the meantime, David?
If they're the ones that are submitted with the packet, I have them. I'm looking at them.
Okay.
I was, kind of trying to get a better sense of what the visual impact is from outside of the property, which I'm not sure I'd see any here that provide that, but there are a couple that do help with just the scale and the design. So yeah, I don't think you need to look for any more.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Beaumont, is there anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. I take it then you don't have any opposition to this particular application?
No, I was just trying to find out if my property were affected. We're on the other side of the golf course.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Beaumont. Mr. Irick, anything you'd like to add?
Thank you, Mr. Stuckey. First, we are in favor of this because we're in favor of things that are good for the community. And this is, we will be impacted by it. And this is about now extends that fence about 430 feet, as they stated. And that will be within a couple hundred feet behind our deck. And something of that size will be visible easily. But my questions were, they've already answered the one. They will maintain the trees. That would be important because these will help screen in the summer at least the fence and the poles. The second question was, there's a roadway, current roadway, that is used for maintenance that looks like, will that be reconfigured because the fence crosses that down more toward us? Will that roadway be reconfigured, or does that go down? Will this go under that fence?
The road will be, how do I say this? There's a point where the road turns that it would interfere with the fence, and so it'll be extended farther down the way and then turn away from.
It will be reconfigured.
It'll be slightly reconfigured at the turn point, yes.
Will that require any trees being removed?
Not to my knowledge, no.
We would not be in favor of that because, again, these are the only, there aren't that many trees in, that will help screen this for us.
Could one of you tell me exactly where it is you're talking about with this roadway?
Yeah, I'll do a share screen again. So I believe here is where it would cross. So I believe Nick is, I'm going to draw a little bit.
But yeah,
Is that a cart path?
it's not a golf cart path. It's for the maintenance vehicles, lawn mowers and et cetera.
But it's not a public right of way.
No.
I believe
Where
what Nick is saying, it would kind of do something like this, maybe.
right there, right where at the end there, where you have it bending towards the end, the purple line,
Mhm.
at the last pole to the left, or my left, right there is where if we would cross the guideline. So it would have to be extended straighter.
So there might be, I'm not sure how thick these trees are right in here. There could be a small
Well,
amount of.
there's no tree, there's the one tree
Or it could be up here.
right at that corner is going to come out, but that's a tree that was deemed to come out because of age and condition even before this. And it could fall on Wasson Way, so that's another safety issue. That was the only one we were taking out or planned to take out. All other trees, like to the left, there's that wooded area at the very end. That's all circles as wooded area. We're
Mhm.
trying not to affect that area there.
Okay.
So there could be just a small amount of clearing required.
There's nothing.
Would it go
Pretty-
under the fire then?
Sorry, Mr. Irick, could you repeat that?
Would it go under the guy wire? Reconfigured road?
No, we can't go underneath the guide wire.
Okay.
Let's
So
go
it's
around it.
the-
Can I go more straight, Nick?
Yeah, right where the guide wire ends, if you see all the trees kind of clumped, there's a whole bunch of trees right there that block the end. We would angle it, it would take like a 90-degree turn around the guide wire. So the trees farthest away from everybody, if there's a tree there, that might have to go, but that's it. We're not trying to affect the big clump of trees at all.
And that could kind of meander a little bit to miss the trees.
Mr. Irick, is there anything else you
No.
wanted to provide on this?
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your testimony and your perspective here as a neighboring property owner. You did mention that you thought it was good for the community. Why do you think that is? Just for the safety issue?
The safety issue, yes, that's all it is. But the city invested in the bike trail, which runs right by us, and it's been very good for the community, I think, and we think, and anybody traveling that trail should feel safe.
Okay, great. Thank you again for your time and your testimony.
Thank you.
I'm gonna see if someone's been on and off here. Rebecca Gillespie, if you're with us, if you could unmute. Just want to make sure you don't want to add any testimony here to this hearing.
I was just interested in how it would affect the view from my property. I live at 3 Greenhouse Lane.
Okay. Ms. Gillespie, if I could, well, can
But
anyone
I
respond to
live-
that? Ms. Gillespie, is there any way you could turn your camera on?
No,
Okay. Well, so you live at 3, what is it?
just down from Dave, 2 houses down from Dave, Mr. Irick.
Okay. Okay. And
Mr. Sturkey, I can pull it up I'm pulling
Sure.
Google Maps up if.
yeah, could you respond to visual impacts again for Ms.
Sure.
Gillespie?
I understood that it was going to run parallel to Wasson Way, but I just wasn't sure if it was going to turn the corner right where I live. And it
So,
sounds like it will a bit.
yeah, Craig, if you could respond to whether it's going to turn the corner.
So, Ms. Gillespie, so 3 Greenhouse, is that one of these condos here?
Yes.
Okay.
No. It would.
Oh.
Or are you farther down?
So, Ms. Gillespie, you're wondering if it's going to turn the corner and sort of go north there after it hits
No.
sort of the end of the course there?
It would be straight, and you could see the path actually now in this view. See the path there?
Right.
And
Right.
if you extend the path,
Craig, I think if you.
right where the path ends and there's a tree there,
Yeah.
that's where the guide wire would probably be, or at the end of the guide wire.
Gotcha.
Craig, if you could just use the cursor and show where the last pole is, I think that would help Rebecca Gillespie.
Sure.
You can see the gravel lot there, a little bit of gravel area. Whole stuff right short of that.
I'm going to compare AutoCAD here quick. So yeah, that pole is going to end kind of right before the gravel. Is it right in here?
Yes.
It's hard to tell with the tree cover.
And that's where the netting will end.
Right. I believe that gravel area is kind of right in here.
Well, I think the guy wire post is there. I think the pole is actually
Pole is up farther.
45 feet away from there.
Right. Maybe
That matches your drawing there in that scoop where there's no trees, right where your cursor is. That's the last pole.
Right.
Okay.
Is that clear, Ms. Gillespie?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I was thinking they were putting actual fence, I guess perpendicular to Wasson Way.
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to move over to Trey Sheldon, our zoning plans examiner. Trey, is there anything you'd like to add to the testimony that's already been given here today?
Just a little background information, and that I know that the country club years ago ended up having kind of a master plan, which when you come up with one of those plans, it takes a while to get the funding and know that you're going to be able to follow it through the fruition. But they had multiple different hearings 5 to 7 years ago for approving various expansions in the club. They redid the swimming pool area and to the northeast of the clubhouse, and some work with tennis courts and so on. They also added a maintenance building. And part of the conditions of that hearing were that there were maintenance things kind of parked along behind the maintenance area. In other words, along where they'd be visible, especially in the wintertime from Saybrook. So part of the conditions of approval for the conditional use for those improvements over in that area ended up being part of the purpose of the maintenance building was to put these machinery and stuff instead of having an outdoor storage lot essentially out there, was to put them inside that building. So that the maintenance building they're discussing there, David, was part of a conditional use approval from quite some time ago. From just a land use standpoint, you have kind of almost a coming to the nuisance kind of situation with Wasson Way, because from the country club's perspective, or at least I can think of it going back to those previous hearings and previous stuff, when they were making all these plans, Wasson Way was just an idea. It hadn't gone to fruition. So this used to be a freight spur line. It was a train, train going through there. So presumably past anybody living on Saybrook had occasional, trains coming through with freight stuff like lumber and so on. It wasn't a passenger train. It was a spur line to deliver things to more industrial uses and lumber yards, things of that nature. And so, perhaps the nuisance factor of balls hitting, except for the occasional one that might have ended up all the way over in Saybrook, most of these would have been in a railroad track area. You'd have hit a freight car with one of them. At least from my perspective, we look in zoning, look at things kind of an eye in the sky, and the driving range has been here for a very long time. I don't know whether Mr. Spadazzini can verify that, but I mean, if I go all the way back, 90s, 80s, I mean, it's been there a long time, probably longer than you and I've been alive. So this only became necessary as a consequence, a primary consequence of what the country club couldn't have possibly anticipated, which is that suddenly their driving range is no longer next to a freight line, for a railroad line, but now it's essentially a park-like area where you have a lot of citizens and their children and pets and so on passing through there. And what turned from kind of almost a buffer of the rail line there, now suddenly you have hundreds, even thousands of people coming by here on a yearly basis, on a monthly basis. So it became apparent, I think, to the city, at least from my understanding, that it was a safety concern, and I think the country club stepped up and offered to mitigate this. I don't know if there's any other way to mitigate it. Their driving range has been there for, like I said, decades and decades. And
Mr. Starstini, how long has the driving range been in that particular location on the site?
Well, when the club was originally built, there wasn't a driving range. That was part of the golf course. That was the original 9 holes of the golf course. So once we made it an 18-hole course, which was in 1922, so in 1909 it was a 9-hole course. In 22, that's when the driving range got to where it is.
1922?
Yes,
Sorry, Trey. I just want
give or
to clarify
take a year.
oh yeah, I figured it was long before we were born. That's considerably before we were born. Yeah. So anyhow, I just I had looked at aerial photographs going back into the 90s and so on, and beyond, and it was obviously still there and at that time, and I remember it even being mentioned when I was a kid. So that's pretty much it. It just seems like the only means of them mitigating what would be a major safety hazard, safety issue for citizens, and like I said, for the children, their pets, anybody passing through there could frankly get killed. So
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Trey. Appreciate your testimony and your work on the staff report here. Okay, gonna go back to the applicant team here. Anything you'd like to say in response to anything you've heard today, or anything else in closing or otherwise before we adjourn?
No, we appreciate everybody's assistance in this and the community's response. I think you're aware the Hyde Park Community Council approved this mitigation as well. But I think most of the community I've heard is favorable, and I think that's good.
Okay, thanks. I think we'll leave it at that. Yeah, so I've had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. I've reviewed the letter of support from the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council. Although, I think everyone would probably agree it's not ideal to have netting of this size this close to residential. I do think that based on the circumstances with Wasson Way and the safety concerns that have been talked about here today, that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this particular request. And so based on all of that, I am going to approve the request. I need to, as some of you know who've been through this process before, I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. I'll do everything I can to get that out to you as soon as possible. But as soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody in here today. So you all will have a copy of that really just moments after it's complete. To the applicants, as soon as you have that, Trey can approve the permitting on his end, and you guys can move forward. Any questions about any of that?
No,
okay.
sir.
Well, if you do
Thank you.
have any, sure. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free. That goes to anyone, including the neighboring property owners. Feel free to reach out to me directly. If you'd like a status update on the decision, I'm happy to provide that too. But I would say 2 weeks is probably a pretty accurate estimate at this time. Okay. If there's nothing else, good luck with the project. Hope everyone has a great day, and we are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Starkey.
Thank you.